Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video tutorial. In this video, we're going to talk about loops. This is part 7 of our PHP series. In the last video, we talked about if, else, if, and else statements. In this video, we're going to be talking about for each, and while loops. Let's get started. Here on our ideapro.io site that we use to do demos and testing, we have split the screen. I did this in a previous video, not in our PHP series, but in a previous video I did. I split the screen and it seems to work really well. Let me know in the comments if you guys like the split screen better, or if you like the single screen where I go back and forth, where it's like this and I flip back and forth between the code. I think it's better to do like this because you can see the code the entire time. We might get a little short over here on being able to see all the code at once. And if that's the case, I can go back to the single screen. But in the last video, we talked about if, else if, and else statements. And in this video, we're going to talk about loops. So there's 3 that I use on a regular basis, and that's the for each, and the while loop. So we're going to talk about those right now. We have an array up here of names that we used in one of the previous videos, and we used it in the last video too. And we've already done a for each loop here in that previous video for our if, else if, and else statements. But we're going to take all this out. We're going to remove this function, and we're going to just do a couple of loops here. We're going to get rid of some of this code, just some of this commented out code. And we're going to start here, and we'll save this page. We come over here and we refresh, and there's nothing up here underneath PHP arrays. So let's change that to PHP loops. Oops. Okay. Then down here, we're going to put several HTML breaks just to get that, that content below a little farther down. There we go. We can actually make several of those. That way we can really push that content down a little bit. There we go. So that gives us a little area here to work with. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is a for loop. So in a for loop, you have 3 sets of attributes, or arguments, if you want to call them arguments. The first one is, and in a lot of examples they use $i. That variable can be basically anything you want. And this first argument is going to be what you set your variable to. So let's say age. We're going to loop through some ages, right? So age is equal to 1. Let's start at 1. And you can start at any integer that you want. And then we're going to say age is less than or equal to, and the maximum age of a person, let's say, is 105 years old. 105. And then age is plus plus. Now what this is we're going to say age is equal to 1, so it's going to start at 1, and it's going to loop through until it hits 105, and this is going to increment 1 plus age. So on the first one it's going to do 1, the next one's going to do 2, 3, and so forth until it hits 105. All right. So then here we can say print $age. And over here, if we refresh our page, it's going to loop through 1 to 105. Now we needed to add a break underneath after that to be able to see that on each individual line. So now age, and it's going to loop through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way down to 105. And then it stops and it says, we've hit the max that we can do. Let's stop. Okay. So that is very useful if you're creating a a select field, right? So let's echo, let's say select name, really doesn't matter. We're just going to say age for the name of our select field. And we're going to do a close select field here. And we use Bootstrap in all of our pages, so we're going to use a Bootstrap just to make it look a little better. And so after this, we're going to say echo. We're going to add an option here. And the value for this is going to be just blank. We use double quotes there. And we're going to put select your age. So this is a good example. And then echo option value, and then close the option tag. And in here, we're going to put two single quotes to close out of the line that we're here. And then we're going to put two periods, and then we're going to put $age here in the middle. Whoops, did not mean to click that. And then here, do the same thing, and we're going to say age, and we're going to refresh. And so now we come over here, and we have select your age, and it gives us a drop down of the different years. So that's a good example of why you would use a for loop if you know the value that you want to stop at. Okay, so let's do it different. Let's say select year born. Born. There we go. Select year born. And you wouldn't say it like that, but that's just an example we're using. So now we're going to say, okay, well, 105 is today, now it's 2019. Let's say the max we want to do is 100 years, right? Or we want to do 105 years. So we would say our starting date would be 2019 minus 105, which would be 1914. So 1914 would be our starting year. And then our current year is 2019. And then age, we can change this to year. Again, we can use any variable that we want. And then we just need to change that here to year and year, okay? Refresh, there we go. And so now we have the starting year of select your year born, 1914, and all the way down to 2019. So again, that's a good example of where to use a for loop. Now, a good way to do this, excuse me, would be to use the PHP date function. We haven't really talked about that, but I want to show you really quickly so you have an idea of it and you can go, oh, that's very helpful. So we're going to put date and our open and close parentheses here, and then two double quotes and a capital Y. And a capital Y is year, full 4-year number, okay? Then we're going to put a minus here, and we're going to say minus 105. And then our year is less than or equal to, and then we're going to use the same date function here and put a Y, capital Y, and then year plus plus. We're going to leave that the same. So now if we save this and we come back and we refresh, now we have same thing, 1914 all the way down to 2019. And the reason why that's good to use this date function like this is because we don't want to hard code those numbers into the system, because it's November 2019 right now. Well, December, January it's going to be 2020. You don't want to have to go back into that code and say, okay, now the starting year is going to be 1915 and the ending year is going to be 2020. So by using this date function as adding the year is going to now make this work from now on. It will automatically pick up the year minus 105 and the year that it is now to stop at. Okay, I hope that makes sense, and it's very valuable if you do it that way. All right, so that's a for loop. I'm trying to think of what else I could give an example with the for loop. It's basically just incrementing through a number. So now let's do a for each, which we kind of did this in the last video and a couple of different videos for the array. So for each, we can say for each, this first argument is going to be what we're going to loop through, which for us is going to be names, not two $signs there, names. And then we're going to use the as, and that's going to say names as, and then we're going to give two values. The first one is going to be our key, and then equal and the arrow to point over to the value. Now, again, you can use these variables here as whatever you would like. So this variable needs to be an array of items, and then these can be whatever you would like to label them. So now if we say print $key, we're going to use a couple of single quotes here, and value, we're going to add a couple more single quotes because we want to put a break in here. What it's going to do is it's going to give us the key here, which is 12, 15, 17, 19, and 22. And then it's going to just say array, because our value is everything after this equal sign. So this is an array, so we're not properly printing it here or echoing it. Let's use echo. So you can use either one, but echo. So it's going to say 12 and then a hyphen that we just put in here to separate them, and then it's going to say array. And then we've used a break here, so it's going to go to the next line. It's going to say 15 hyphen array, 17 hyphen array. And let's just do that and I'll show you. All right, so now we have 12 hyphen array, 15 hyphen array, 17 hyphen array, because it's telling us that, hey, this is an array and we really should not be pushing it out just like we would a string. So now we need to tell it what value inside of this array that we want. Now, inside of the array, we have multiple keys. So name is a key, because if you look here, we have key equals and then the greater than value. So this is telling it that the value of key is to the right. Okay, so now we have name as a key, and we have age as a key, and we have access as a key. So those are what we want to use in our value here to present it to the page. All right, so value, then we're going to make two brackets, and inside of that we're going to do name. Okay, so now if we come over here and refresh our page, it now says 12 Josh, 15 Michael, 17 Tom. So it goes through each one of these keys, and then it goes to the array, which we're calling value, or it comes to the value that's an array, and then we're going to say name, and then let's say is, and we're going to do two semicolons, and we're going to say value again, and we're going to say age, years old. Okay, come back here and we refresh, and now it says Josh is 43 years old, Michael is 1 year old, Tom is 54 years old. So we've picked out the key from these values of this array. Now, if this array was, if it wasn't an array, if it was just a value, you could just put in value like that. Okay, so one of the problems that we're going to run into here is, let's refresh that. I'll show you it still works. Okay, so if you have another name here, it says names, and we're going to use a number of 46. I don't know why, just out of the blue. And we're going to call an array, and we're going to say name is equal to John. Guess John would have a capital. There we go. So name is equal to John, but we're not going to put age and access because this array doesn't require it to have all of the values that each one of these arrays have. So if we save this and come back over and refresh, it's going to work, but it's going to say John is, and then it's not going to have that number in there. Now, that's not really the way to do it, because if we had on debugging, debugging would tell us that age doesn't exist in this array. So the proper way to do that would be to look to see if that array key is set. So let's say if, now this is from the last video we did, if, else if, and else statements. And so if is set, and again, this is just another PHP function, and we're going to say value, and we're going to use that age value. If value age, if is set value age, then show this line, right? So we have over here, we have John is years old. It's blank because we didn't put that age key up here. So now we're going to come over here and refresh, and now it's not going to show us anyone that their age didn't come through. So this is the proper way to make sure that that array exists. And we can break this out and do so that it shows his name but only shows his age if, you know, if his age exists. But then we can come down here and say else echo $key dot value name. Right? So then we come over here and refresh, and now it says, you know, each one of these have their age, and then John doesn't have an age, so it's just going to show John. Right? But again, what if his name wasn't set? So we want to come up here above this, and we're going to move all this over just a little bit, because I want to show you that you can do an if statement inside of another if statement. So we can say if not is set, if is set, wow, there we go. If is set name, then run this code. Else, we can just say name is missing. Let's do a break after that. Okay, so now we come over here and we refresh, and it's going to look the same because we don't have an array in there that is missing the name. But let's say that we have another one here. Oh, come on. There we go. And this one is 48, and name is not set, but age is set. 81. This guy's 81. Okay? And so now we come over here and refresh. Name is missing because we did not put a break after this one. There we go. And so now we have all of these because they have their name and age. Then we have John that just shows John because he doesn't have an age. And then we have another line that says name is missing. Okay, so here we could do a $key dot, and let's do a hyphen. Come over here and refresh. Name is missing. 48, his name is missing. Okay, so then we can do something different here. Like if you have a login and you want to know the person's email password, you know, they choose a password, and then you want them to put in their full name and, you know, different parts of their information. If they haven't entered their name yet, you could pop up a input field that says, please enter your name. You know, your name is not there, please enter your name. Now we can also do if is set value name, it will run this code. Else if $value name is equal to blank, then we can say echo key what am I doing here? There we go. Wow. Let's say needs to enter his name. So now what we've got is if name is blank, then this user needs to enter his name. So we're coming here and refresh and needs to enter his name. The reason why that works is because it doesn't look, it says if is set, and so if it's set, it will print out this information here. If age is missing, it will just print out his name. Else if name is equal to blank. So that is going to return that name is blank if the name is not set or if it's blank. But that's actually going to give us a warning in PHP if we had debugging turned on, because name is still going to be blank if it's not set. So what we really need to do is we should say else if, and open that up, not is set, and we want value name, echo, let's do a break after that, whoops, not set, okay, and we have an error. Why do we have an error? Not is set name, oh, there we go. All right, there we go. So now it says not set right here, right? But now we're looking for a name that's equal to blank, right? So it's going through this loop and this if else statement and saying if the name is set, okay, then look through this, look at the age. If the age is set, then present the name and age. Else, just present the name. Else if it's not set, the user needs to set their name. If it is set, it's going to be up here, right? So then else if name is equal to blank. So let's add another one up here. Oh, come on, really? There we go. And let's say 50. Doesn't really matter what we use. And then we're going to do a name is equal to Tim, and his age is 78. Okay, so now we're going to come over here and refresh, and now it says Tim is 78 years old because that name exists. Now if we take this out and leave it blank and refresh, blank is 78 years old. Now why did it do that? It did that because name is still set here. So is set name, even though it's blank, it's still set. So this value down here doesn't even work. So we can take that out. So we need to come back up here, name is set, and then it's going to loop, it's going to check through these values, and it's going to say if is set age, then it's going to print name and age. Else, it's going to print just the name. But now we need to tell it to look at the name. So we can say else if $value name is equal to blank, do this. Else if is set age, do this, else do this. So if name is blank, it's going to stop here. If it's not blank, it's going to continue, and then it's going to say if the age is set, go ahead and run this line. If the age is not set, then it's going to do this. But it's going to stop if the name is blank. Okay, so let's say echo this user's name is blank. All right, and we're going to go over here and refresh. This user's name is blank. So it stopped at that point and said, oh, wait, if his name is blank, we need to make sure we get that name. So if name is set in this array, it's going to do everything here. If it's not, it's going to run this, else, and run this. So I wanted to add the while loop with this video, but the video got really long as I was showing you the for and for each, and kind of got into a little bit more detail about the if, else if, and else statements, and the is set or not is set information there. So I'm gonna have to put while loops on another video, the next video. But so that's all I have for this video. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you like this video. Leave me a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.